Good afternoon, Wibren. Here's your machine, the Barista Express BES870. As you saw in the photos, it's in very good condition. This one I've just finished working on this afternoon. Yeah, I just added a few rubber seals. So one of them was in bad condition and on the verge of leaking. The others, I just changed as a precaution. Usually when one goes, the others go. So yeah, now it has 6 new rubber rings. I've finished doing the pressure test, leak tests, etc. Cleaning cycles, everything is perfect now. The only thing left is to make a coffee, and I'm using this opportunity to record it as well, so you can see what I'm seeing. First, turn it on. Usually it takes about a minute to turn on from cold, but I've been working on it, so it's kind of warm. It will take a few seconds to turn on. In this video, I'll be grinding, making an espresso, and also grinding, making espresso, and yeah, just testing the steam on a hot water tap, even though I'm not making a latte, but I'll just test the steam to show you the steam pressure and that it's all good. Okay, I'll grab a cup. Yeah, machine is ready to go. You can make a coffee right away when you see the buttons light up. But I always recommend to warm it up first. So you can either warm it up by waiting, keeping it on 10 or 20 seconds, sorry, 10 or 20 minutes, and keeping your handle locked in so that the handle gets warm as well. That's one way. The other way, my preferred way, is to actively warm it up by running a blank shot. So grab your cup, lock in the handle, press the double, and this will bring things up to temperature pretty quickly and effectively, and if there's any coffee grounds or oils, this will clean it up as a bonus. You can do that once or twice. It's up to you really. Add some beans. I've recalibrated your internal settings on the grinder, so now you can just like set and forget. You can just get it and start playing and making coffee right away. You don't have to mess too much with the settings on the burr and the internal mechanism. Never made a coffee on it, so this is the first time. And the only way to know you have the correct grind size is to make a coffee. So you have the grind size going from 1 to 18, I think, or 16. 1 being the finest, so very, very fine, almost like flour. I wouldn't recommend you go to that setting. And you also have all the way up to 16, which is coarse. If you use that setting, it'll be too large for a grind size, and your coffee will be runny. So if you have too large of a grind size, your coffee will be runny and low pressure. If you have very fine grind, you have very high pressure and very little coffee coming out. So you want it to be in the middle, somewhere, I would say around 30 seconds for a double shot. That's what I usually say. So we will go through all the settings and all the numbers in a second. But once you've done the warm-up procedure, just move the cup aside. You can put it on top. The top tray is warmed a little bit by the boiler. I will take out the portafilter. Grab a tissue. I'm just gonna find a tissue. Give me a second. There we go. Great. Grab a tissue, dry the portafilter thoroughly. Then I'm using a scale to measure the inputs and outputs for you. The input should be 18 grams for a double shot, output should be 36, and that double shot should take 30 seconds, give or take. And this is not a science, it doesn't have to be exact on every measurement. Some people even eyeball it and never use a scale and then still make good coffee. But for me, and for my curiosity and consistency, and for your curiosity, I'm not going to measure. So we are using grind size 5. I think it should be okay for now. On grind size 1 or 2, it'll be too fine and the burrs are basically touching. So I wouldn't go to that, it'll be too fine. And grind size 3, 4, and 5 are potentially what are the best ones for now. For my beans, I'm using the Coles medium beans stored in a vacuum canister. They're about a month old, but they should still give us some good pressure and good crema. Right, so I'll just purge because I haven't, well, the grinder hasn't been used in a while. Just gonna get rid of the first few seconds. There may be old beans in there, old coffee grounds. Great. 12 o'clock on the grind amount. That's my first dose, which is 8 grams. So bump it up to 2 o'clock position. That's 9 grams now. That's my second dose. I like to use the single twice rather than the double just once. Reason being is I can stop it halfway. When you do the single, it stops halfway. You press it with the tamper and that will make way for the second dose. Otherwise, if you don't press it with the tamper halfway, it will just like pile up and spill around, and A, that's wasteful and it makes a mess. B, that will waste your time because then you don't know how many grams exactly went into the port filter. Some of it is on the tray. So I like to be more consistent by doing the single and single. That's not 17.9, perfect. Before pressing it with the tamper, I'm just going to quickly spread it with my finger. Make sure it's even before I apply firm pressure with the tamper. So I'll move this out of here. You can tamp in the air, you can tamp on the bench. I'm going to do it on the bench for consistency now. Nice firm pressure, and you'll notice we have a smooth surface. It's even all around, and I like to tell people to look at the depth of the tamper when you press, after you tamp, I guess. The silver part should disappear when you have the correct amount of coffee. So this is what it looks like. Nice, smooth. Clean the edges if they have a bit of loose coffee, and lock it in. So in the middle position is fine. You may want to move a bit more to the right, but in the middle should be fine. It shouldn't move. Okay, get rid of this water, reset my scale again. Now we'll make a coffee and we'll see how long it takes us to get the double shot, which is about half of this shot glass. That's usually about 36 grams, 37. I've done this a lot, so I'll know what 37 grams looks like, but for you, that's why I recommend a scale. You may not know what 37 grams or 36 grams looks like. And I'm also going to time it, of course, because we're aiming for 30 seconds. If it takes much longer than 30 seconds, then that's too fine. I don't think that'll happen. What will probably happen is it'll be quicker than we expect. That's the usual way it goes. 3, 2, 1. Oh, I'm also going to reprogram the button for you. So the buttons are programmable. You can make them really short or really long. I'm going to reprogram the double shot button for you so you can get the correct, 35 to 40 gram dose. Different beans and different grind sizes will change that a little bit. You can change it a lot actually. If you're grinding really fine and the machine is struggling and pushing a lot of water, you may get a small quantity rather than a lot. Vice versa, if you use old beans or really cheap beans, it'll be more runny than usual. Or if you accidentally use a very large grind size, you'll also notice the pressure going down and the quantity going up. Hopefully not too overwhelmed by that. I'll set the machine up now, and when you get it, just use it, start using it, don't overthink. Something that a lot of people do is get overwhelmed by the numbers and the tools and the variables. Hopefully after I set it up, you can just give it a go as is. Okay, to reprogram one of the buttons, I'm going to press program, then the button I want to program. It'll start making coffee, and then I'll stop it when I'm happy with the amount of coffee that it gave me. So 10 o'clock pressure, you're at 16, 17, 18 seconds. That's 20 seconds. So not ideal. We could have ground a couple numbers finer. I usually would aim for 30 seconds rather than 20 seconds. And the pressure usually is about 12 o'clock when you have everything perfect. But that's still, I think this would be a drinkable shot. As you see, it was a lot of crema we have. This is 40 grams, so more than I was expecting. But still, again, if you are drinking latte or long black, you may not even notice that this is an over-extracted shot. Oh, sorry, under-extracted, because it went over. Over-extracted means it's too finely ground and a very small amount came out, which is counterintuitive. But this is under-extracted because we extracted too much. Yeah, it is confusing. Yeah, smells really good. It probably would be a bit sour. Usually, when they run a bit quicker, usually means that they're a bit. Usually it means they will become sour. That's just how coffee works. And when you when you over-extract and you get a small amount of coffee, that would mean that it will be bitter and concentrated. Anyway, to clean, I would knock it into a knockbox or a bin and then flush. That's going to clean your shower screen and your portafilter in one step. Do that once or twice. And when you're done, it would be nice to grab a tissue or the brush included and wipe the shower screen. Usually a bit of coffee grounds left even after you flush. It's nice to give it that extra bit of cleaning so that your coffee comes out nice and clean as well. Hot water tap here, you've got it in case you want to do a long black, like Americano style coffee, or like tea bags, or warming up your mugs before you make coffee. You can also obviously turn it the other way to start steaming. Once you hear the buttons light up, once you hear the pump engage and pulsate, that means it's about full pressure, very strong pressure. Let me turn it off. The, what do you call it? This dial is a bit wobbly, but it doesn't affect anything. It's just something that happens, it's like wear and tear, I would say. Perfect. Once you see the buttons light up, the machine is now ready to make another coffee. You can store the portafilter like this for it to dry and drain the water into the tray. You can lock it in as well if you're making a coffee soon after. So when you lock it in, it's nice and hot. Or some people like to lock it in so that next morning when you turn it on, the portafilter is already attached here and it gets nice and warm along with the machine. But this would be my preference. Just so you can let it dry, you can let the group head dry as well. And in the morning, when you turn it on, just put it on and run the blank shot to warm it up. Okay, I think that's everything. We tested all the buttons, all the features. Yeah, like I said, the only thing I would add to what we did today is to grind a bit finer. So I'm using not the best beans in the world and a slightly large grind size. So it's large for this coffee, I mean. So next I would maybe try grind size number 4 or number 3. I would try number 4 and number 3 before going all the way down to number 2. But yeah, make another coffee at, let's say, number 4. See if our pressures are higher, if we get a stronger drink. And that's how I would approach it. If you change to a really fresh bean, for example, if you have a roaster nearby where you live, usually freshly roasted coffee will give you more pressure. It will be obviously fresher than supermarket beans. It'll have more of those like gases and contents inside of the bean, and so naturally they will give you more pressure with the same grind size. You'll be shocked if I were to use a really cheap or old bean. For example, this decaf we bought in the supermarket like 3-4 months ago, so it's quite stale. I have to chuck it in the bin maybe. But yeah, it's quite stale, and if I were to run it through this grinder, the same settings, same everything, we'll probably get 0 pressure, just because yeah, beans age, and when they age you lose pressure. Yeah, thanks for watching. I won't make this video too long. Hope you enjoy. If you have any questions or concerns, please don't hesitate in asking me. Thanks.